if you are someone who is maybe going home for Christmas and you never see EastEnders, but you have to watch it once a year with the family, and you just sit there for an hour going, I don't know what's going on. This is something I've written for you so that you can keep up with everything. You'll be watching the Christmas special going, I know exactly what's happening. Now, there is a written version of this. I will link it in the notes, okay? But for now, welcome to my extremely patriotic Christmas living room. Let's recap EastEnders. First, I'm going to tell you why Dead Cindy is back, because you're going to see Cindy. It's definitely Cindy. She's back with Ian. How, you might ask? Well, Cindy died in childbirth in prison, we know this, but she didn't. Turns out she was in witness protection for 25 years. Bish bash bosh, she's back. So that's why you're seeing Dead Cindy. She's actually alive. Now, while Cindy was dead, she was named Rose. She married George, Colin Salmon, and moved to Marbella to run a bar and had 2 kids. We only found that out this year, and we didn't see any of this. Then she found out that her and Ian's daughter, Lucy Beale, had been murdered back in 2014. Remember that storyline, Who Killed Lucy? Had a bit of a breakdown, abandoned the fam, and eventually she found Ian again, okay? So Colin Salmon, who hasn't seen Dead Cindy, who he thought was called Rose, for 9 years, along with his 2 daughters, they haven't seen her for 9 years, he's now engaged to Linda's mum, right? Greatest casting ever, it's Harriet Thorpe. So they've bought the Queen Vic since the disappearance of Danny Dyer last Christmas. Remember that? Is there tension between Colin Salmon and newly revealed alive Cindy? No, there's no tension. JK, there's loads. It's somehow campaign heartbreaking, but when you see all that going on Christmas Day, that's what's going on there. Guess who else is still in the show? Sonia! Yeah, original Sonia. She never left. She doesn't talk like that anymore either. She's trying to get pregnant for the first time since she was 16 with Reese, who's her boyfriend. He's a nerd fella. He's great in bed. And he has a wife who's in a coma. Now, everyone knows about the wife who's in a coma, and they know that they're trying for a baby, but nobody knows that Reese has secretly spent his coma wife's money on IVF for him and Sonia. It might come up this Christmas, so that's what that is. And yes, she does still play the trumpet. There. That's recent. Jay and Lola are 2 characters who got married this year. They knew Lola was dying from a brain tumour. Jay has been struggling a lot since she died back in the summer. So if you see him looking all miffed and that, it's justified. That's what's going on there. Now, there's a couple called Whitney and Zach. They lost a baby this year. I know, EastEnders is nothing but misery. Lost a baby this year, it was very sad, and they've decided to adopt, okay? And they're fostering their first child at the moment. So when you see a couple with a foster child, that's what's going on there. He arrived 2 days before Christmas. Good luck, guys. Now, we're going to go back to February, because this is the big bulk of everything, okay? February. An episode 10 months ago, 6 of Albert Square's iconic women were having a lock-in in the Queen Vic. They drank to men, getting what they deserved, and then it flashed forward to Christmas Day. And 6 of the Albert Square women were standing over the body of an unseen man wearing cufflinks. Sharon goes, "He's dead." So these 6 women are the 6. Okay, and boy oh boy, they've all got motives. So it's kind of a whodunit, but it's more of a why done it and who is it? So let's meet the 6. First up, Sharon. She's bringing hardcore camp to the square. It's our Sharon. Almost 4 years back, she had an affair with young hunk Keanu. Yeah, seriously. While married to Phil Mitchell, it resulted in a very, very blonde baby. Albie is extremely Aryan. I will show you Albie. Look how blonde that baby is. My God. Sharon and Keanu have been on and off for Albie's whole life, but they're finally on track. They're getting married on Christmas Day and everything's going to be wonderful. Except that a few weeks ago, Keanu and his mum accidentally a little bit staged Albie's kidnapping and got a £50,000 ransom for him, and Phil had to give Sharon the money, so it's Phil's £50,000, lol. Phil has discovered the kidnapping was fake. Keanu swears he had nothing to do with it, which caused his mum to flee the square. Sharon believes Keanu, the marriage is going ahead. By the way, Phil Mitchell is likely this Christmas to go as red as a Lindor at least once. If you see that happen, don't worry about it, okay? It's just his way of honouring the festive season. Where's that Office meme where it's like, it's the same picture? By the way, Albie is not Keanu's baby. He's Phil's baby. Oh, yeah. Now, Sharon knows this. She only found out recently. Linda knows this. Kat knows this. Phil does not know this. Keanu does not know this. Could Sharon kill Phil to get him out of the picture? By the way, Kat is not telling Phil that Albie is his baby because she's married to Phil now. Yeah, Kat Slater and Phil Mitchell are married. And she knows that there's always that chance of Phil and Sharon running off into the sunset together. So she's keeping quiet about the baby. Next up, Linda. Now, a year ago, Linda won back Mick, Danny Dyer, only for him to accidentally drive into the sea chasing Janine, who is in prison, never to be seen again till he shows up having lost his memory in 2030 or something. Now, Linda has done really well this year. Through her grief, she's managed to stay on the wagon, not relapse with the booze. She is running the Queen Vic with her mum, Harriet Thorpe, and her and Sharon are top gal pals. Now, we're going to go back 9 years when Mick's brother Dean raped Linda. It was a very harrowing storyline. It was brilliantly handled and acted, and Dean never quite received his comeuppance. Why am I bringing up Dean? He left Walford. His reputation was ruined. That was years ago. Well, Dean is back, okay? He's back and he's out for revenge on Linda. A few weeks back, Colin Salmon accidentally made Dean fall down the stairs at the Vic when Dean was being a fetid little threadworm, and Dean said the only way he'd not go to the police over this was if Linda said out loud that the sex they'd had was consensual. It was not. So Linda did that. She did it for the good of her family, and even though it devastated her. And Dean secretly recorded it. And then he played it to everyone in the Vic using a karaoke machine. Dean! This caused Linda to relapse. She got wasted. She'd been doing so well. And one of her new stepsisters, right, she thinks Linda might have lied, and she's starting to get close to Dean. Dean keeps trying to get Linda alone, right? She's managed to avoid it so far, but then this week, Linda received this. I can't talk, but I need to see you. I'm sorry I couldn't do this till now. I'll explain everything. Mick. Huge moment. It's Mick. Spoiler alert, it was from Dean. Haha. What a prank Sinatra. Linda goes to meet Mick, where they wed, and it was just Dean there. And Dean, get this, was apologising. Dean said sorry to Linda, because he feels like if he makes things right, it might save his daughter's life. By the way, his daughter needs a lung transplant. It's a whole thing. Give her one of yours, Dean. Linda refuses to forgive him. Good for her. And if she killed him, honestly, would anyone blame her? Now we're going to go on to the goddess Denise. So there's Denise. Remember when she was engaged to Ian, though? Bit weird. Anyway, right, Denise is married to Jack now. Jack Branning, brother of top shagger Max Branning. Their marriage got a bit stale, and she had a flirtation with Ravi, who's easy on the mince pies. She didn't go through with the affair. They only actually kissed. Ravi really pursued her, okay? He really was going for it. He was a real slime about it. However, I should also tell you, here's Shabuya roll call. Here's Ravi. Due to Ravi being investigated for #crimes by Jack the Cop, ACAB, Denise and Ravi's not quite affair was revealed, okay? Denise and Jack's marriage has been mighty strained ever since, okay? Then Ravi started sleeping with Denise's daughter Chelsea. It was a whole thing, and then that was over, and it's been a right old 2023 for Albert Square's biggest fox. Denise's surname is Fox, so what I just said was very clever. So Jack has taken Denise back, but he's been a right prick about it. Like, either forgive her or don't, Jack. But I don't think it helps that Jack's teen daughter Amy, she's been self-harming, and his teen son Ricky has had a baby with Stacey's daughter Lily. Things reached breaking point last week. Stacey and Jack have been seeing a lot of each other. There'll be more on that later. And her and Jack smashed. Yeah, that's right. Stacey done another Branning. That's 3 Brannings. Regretting everything, Jack came clean with Denise the other day. Well, he sort of did. He said that he smashed with a random. Denise was like, right, and agreed to work on their marriage. But then she found out it was Stacey. And Denise was like, oh, really? And now she wants out. She wants out of the marriage. She went through all their financial documents, and Jack has all their finances in his accountant's name. Now, I don't really understand shit like this, okay? I sort of wing it with money, to be honest, but I can tell from Denise's reaction that this was bad. Okay, will Denise bludgeon Jack to death with a champers bottle? Or maybe Ravi? Because he started all this, and he is a shit. The 6 also include Suki Panesar, and oh boy, she is the greatest EastEnders character in her time. She is the matriarch of the Panesar family. She's basically sent 2 of her 4 kids to jail where one of them was killed. But that's probably unimportant this Yuletide. Now, before her husband Nish came out of prison for killing a man who was trying to get off with Suki 20 years ago, Nish is convinced Suki had an affair with this murdered man, something she's always denied. Keep an eye on that. And he was in prison for 20 years. He came out and expected to pick up the marriage right where he left off. Now, while Nish was still in the big house, okay, Suki met Eve. And you thought one brand new iconic Wolford woman was cool. Well, have another one. Eve. She is Stacey Slater, ice skater's wife. They met in jail. OMG, Stacey is bi. Nah, they got married in jail so that Eve could be released on probation and, like, total marriage of convenience, but they are best mates, and they have this dynamic running a burger van called Stacey's Baps, which is glorious. Now, Eve is a solicitor who lost her licence after committing assault long before she was on EastEnders. Nish hires her to help Suki run her side of the business, which involves a lot of business trips to Leeds for some reason. And he wants Eve to keep an eye on Suki, his wife, because he's a controlling piece of shit. But, Eve and Suki are in love. Okay? Suki did not have an affair with the man that Nish killed. It was the dead guy's wife. Now she's found love with Eve, and Nish found out when he saw them having a snog in rainbow kimonos on CCTV in the Minute Mark stockroom. Don't worry about it. Now, before I tell you what happened after the abusing, controlling, broody, he's quite sexy actually, Nish, found out about his wife having it off with Eve, you need to know some more about Ravi. I've been really trying. Ravi is Nish's illegitimate son, for a start, and in 2022, he killed Ranveer, the man who'd brought him up, who he'd always thought was his father. When he walked in on Ranveer, knocked unconscious by Suki, right? He had tried to assault Suki. It was quite a night. Ravi told Suki that he'd deal with the body and he killed Ranveer, but he let Suki believe that it was her who'd killed him, right? And she let her least annoying son, Kirat, take the fall and go to prison for her over it last year. So Suki was under the impression she'd killed, but it was Ravi all along. But whoa, there's security cam footage of Ravi being the true murderer, and Denise saw it by chance when she swiped Ravi's laptop. She told Suki, and she told Ravi that she knew the truth. Denise did, and the police looked at the laptop, but there was no footage to be found. It does beg the question, Denise, why did you tell Ravi? But she's still iconic. So Suki could kill Ravi. Now back to what happened when Nish found out about Eve and Suki and the rainbow kimonos. Don't worry about the rainbow kimonos. Stop asking me about it, okay? It's fine. He was literally annoyed. He got Eve alone and he said, what's all this then with the rainbow kimonos and the stockroom and all that palaver? I am paraphrasing. Eve hit back that Suki and her were in love and that Suki was tender and passionate with her. And this stuck with me because it made me go, ooh, nice. And that she and Suki were running away together that night. And then Nish knocked her out with a big bottle, right? He called Ravi and was like, help, daddy. I'm paraphrasing. And they put Eve in the boot of Ravi's car and Nish ordered Ravi to drive Eve somewhere, kill her and bury her, right? Ravi drove Eve to the woods, and in a showdown where she begs him not to kill her, he doesn't. He can't do it. He sets her free, he tells her never come back, and she flees. And that's the last we hear of Eve. Suki is left heartbroken. Nish texts Suki from Eve's phone saying, can't go through with it, sorry, and thinks that he has got his wife back under his iron fist. But, you see, Suki does not believe that Eve ghosted her. She thinks that something's happened to her. And remember, Eve is Stacey's friend wife, and Stacey doesn't buy that Eve ghosted them either. Will Suki kill Nish? Or Ravi? Or any more of her kids? Stay tuned. If any of you are finding this confusing, by the way, you're just showing your ignorance. I've made this all very simple. Stacey Slater. Stacey has often had a rough year, but this year's been real rough, okay? Her 12-year-old had a baby with Jack's son. They named the baby after Charlie XCX, and Charlie XCX saw this, and it was a real iconic EastEnders moment. Stacey Slater's granddaughter is named after Charlie XCX, and Charlie XCX tweeted, shout out my gays in the writer's room. So now there's another baby in Stacey's house, and that costs money. So Stacey was willing to do whatever it takes to earn money. And she needed to do that because Stacey's Baps, she doesn't really charge enough for them, like a burger is £2 and stuff like that. Stacey turned to OnlyFans, okay? Except it's EastEnders, so it's called like Lonely Mans or something. So she was making really good money, but then people found out in the local area. She got shamed by her family. Her daughter was bullied at school over it, and Stacey quit Lonely Man's. But you know what? It's actually nothing to be ashamed of, Swerfs, and you go for it, Stacey. So she went back to it, and she carried on chatting to one bloke in particular who used to send her a lot of typed messages and loads of money, and she looked after her family. Meanwhile, things were going okay, because her daughter was being tutored by school teacher Theo, and he's doing that out of the kindness of his heart. He just really wants to be there for the family. He's handsome. He and Stacey are vibing. They go on a date. The date is Kathy's wedding. More on that later. And it turns out that Theo actually gives Stacey the ick, and she gets back together with Martin at the wedding. So she and Theo are just friends. It doesn't last with Martin, by the way, but like she did kiss her ex-husband while on a date with a new guy. Long story short, Theo is Stacey's Lonely Man's guy, and he's obsessed with her. He starts fully stalking her. Nobody can tell who the stalker is, and he is always around. Now, Stacey was really struggling. She was getting very paranoid and freaked. She was very vulnerable. And then Theo finally reveals himself to be the stalker, but he's been clever about it, so there's no evidence. Burner phones, everything. Okay, the police don't do anything. ACAB, he continues to terrorise Stacey. And then finally, he breaks into the Slater house and he tries to assault Stacey. And then Bobby, off of Strictly, knocks him out, and then Eve arrives and they get a big wrench out of Theo's car and plant it on him to make it look like he was properly attacking Stacey with a wrench, okay? He's in hospital, he wakes up, he goes to jail because the cops also find a load of lingerie and stuff that Theo has stolen from Stacey in the car, right? And Stacey tricks him into pleading guilty in court by saying that actually she does want to be with him when he's out of prison, and it's the only way he'll plead guilty. I guarantee this will all end well. Now, this storyline is worth filling you in on, but Theo is not actually listed as one of the 7 men who could be murdered by the 6, okay? He's currently not in the show at all. He's on bail up north. And you need to know, though, what a tough year Stacey has had, because it does go some of the way to explain why she smashed with Jack, right? She wasn't being a seductress like her off Love Actually, you know, Necklace Woman. Stacey's extremely shaken. She's very vulnerable right now. And she was actually walking away from Jack when he made the move. So, in the flash forward to Christmas Day from February, Stacey is shown with her hands covered in blood. Whose blood? Is she killing Jack for making her the town tart once again? Or, more likely, is it Nish and or Ravi for what they did to Eve? Oh my God, Eve. So Eve disappeared on Ravi's orders. She's been gone for weeks. We've heard nothing from her. Stacey and Jack have been spending a lot of time together in December because obviously he's a detective, and Stacey is like, you can find Eve, right? And Stacey's just so sure that Eve would never have ghosted everyone for no reason. And Jack really took advantage of Stacey, and that's why they smashed. IMO. This week, Jack received an anonymous tip-off that Eve had been seen in Ravi's car the night she disappeared. So the police checked his boot, and it's full of Eve's blood. Well, I mean, there's a coat with Eve's blood on it. It's not full of it. It's not like the lift in The Shining. But, you know, you get the picture. So Ravi and Nish are then arrested for the murder of Eve. Now, Suki is despondent. She's devastated because she believes now, as she suspected, that Nish had Eve killed, and she goes to take an overdose. But then Eve comes in the back door. Not like that. And they are reunited. It was Eve's plan all along. She'd got blood on a coat and planted it in the car. Hashtag Sook Eve. Now, they just need to run away together and never be found. It's easy. It's simple. It's as simple as this bloody recap. Eve and Suki go to see Stacey to tell her she's not dead, really, lol. But Jack finds them. So now Jack knows Eve hasn't been murdered. Nish and Ravi are inside jail. Inside jail. Ravi's told Nish on the prison phone that he actually didn't even kill Eve after all. And Jack has got them out of prison. And there are a lot of reasons to kill Jack and Nish and Ravi now, aren't there? P.S. You're keeping up just fine. Kathy, right? Kathy. Do you want to know what Kathy looks like these days? That's what she looks like these days. Yeah, she looks the same. Kathy doesn't age. If you thought she was dead, by the way, you got to keep up. You got to do better. She's been back since 2015. It turned out she'd faked her own death. It happens. Anyway, Kathy got married this year to Brian Connolly. Yeah, that's him off of It's a Puppet. He really loves Kathy. But he also lied about his identity, and he committed bigamy, and he hid a gambling addiction, and he gambled away all his honeymoon, and then he a little bit committed full arson on Kath's calf. What a Jack the Lad final boss. Rocky, who's Brian Connolly, has, in his desperation, taken loans from Nish, so he's involved again, and Nish has lorded this over him with threats and taunts. He's forced Kathy to sell him the cafe, and he's such a jerk. So Rocky finally admitted to Kathy that he'd burned down the cafe deliberately to get insurance money, and she threw him out for good. Final straw, she was heartbroken, but she's also mad as hell at Nish. So Rocky is still on the square. He's sorry. He's a pathetic idiot. But we know Brian Connolly is leaving EastEnders because it's already been announced. He's going to do like a musical or a corporate or something. Could he be Kathy's victim? Or could Nish be? Wasn't that simple? And the men that could be killed by any of the 6, if I find this, these are the men that they're suggesting could be killed by the 6. You've got, from left to right, Jack, Nish, Dean, Phil, Keanu, Ravi and Rocky. It could be any of those 7 unless they like throw a spanner in the works. It turns out it's none of them. And they've all got matching cufflinks. Right, the cufflinks were originally a big old clue because when on the clip in February, Sharon, you see her take the pulse of whoever's dead and she goes, he's dead, and he's wearing these particular cufflinks. These were a big clue because there were a pair of like expensive cufflinks that someone lost in a poker game and then someone lent them to somebody else, so we were like keeping an eye on the cufflinks. But then last week there was a spanner in the works when Alfie and Billy was selling like 8 million of the bastards. So we know it's a lad wearing the cufflinks that gets knocked off, but it could be any of those 7 dickheads. By the way, the cufflinks turned out to be solid platinum. It might end up being relevant, but I don't know how. P.S. We all know that it's not going to be Phil that we lose. Like, he's going to outlive us all. That's not going to happen. And as it's Christmas, if you're going to be watching, keep an eye out for at least one crane shot on Albert Square, okay? Settle back, relax. At 9:45 p.m. on Monday, get ready for the best Christmas Albert Square has ever seen. Doof, 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 doof.